Hello again. In the last lesson, we learned about Agile philosophy and principles. Let's now move to the more tangible side of it, the project lifecycle structure, project product delivery, roles and responsibilities. The beginning of the lifecycle of an Agile project would be as we know it. Whenever a project need arises, an organization will go through the typical steps in an initiation phase, assessing the goal, performing feasibility study, calculating the business case, etc. The key difference from lifecycle perspective is in the planning and execution phases. Actually, for the purpose of our Agile lessons, it's better to stop thinking about planning and execution as two separate phases. We should instead consider planning and execution as two different project management processes or activities that the project manager performs together with the project team. Okay, back to the life cycle. You can see how this is illustrated for Agile. Note how these two processes, A, do not happen in one go but are broken down. They can start, stop and start again at different times. And B, are not strictly sequenced as in waterfall as we understood from the last lesson. As a result, we can see that at the beginning, planning will be performed to a certain extent. It will be performed as much as it would make sense at this stage for the specific project and can be then further developed or adapted at a later stage. Moving on to the execution phase or processes, in an Agile project environment, this part of the project lifecycle is very different from how we know it. Instead of the long single phase, the work is executed through a number of small identical phases. These are called iterations. In each of these mini phases, a specific piece of the project product is created. In this manner, the execution happens step by step, leaving room in between the iterations to review the partial outputs and make any changes to the plan if needed. Note, they all have the same duration, which is usually a few weeks long. From a project manager perspective, each iteration will include a short detailed planning at the beginning and then execution of the planned part of the work. Then, the next iteration will follow, where detailed planning will be performed for the next piece of work and then executed. And so, iteration after iteration until the whole product is created. This is also the reason why a product development method coming from the Agile world is also referred to as the iterative approach. Okay, to finish professionally, we must not forget to have a proper closure phase. This one will follow the same best practices which we are already familiar with. The only thing worth noting is that the lessons learned gathering is not performed only at the end, but after each and every iteration. The project team gathers to discuss what went well and what can be improved in the next iteration. Hence, lessons learned are constantly discussed and improvements implemented. So far so good, but how is the project work monitored and controlled? Well, after each iteration, there is a meeting with the project team and the project client, a so-called demo session, where the output or the specific piece created is reviewed. Here, we also have the critical control point to assess how the project is progressing. The demo sessions play a key role for the monitoring and control activities, which we have analyzed as a separate phase in Waterfall. Now, another very important thing is that between the iterations, changes to the project plan and even project direction are allowed. The subsequent iterations may change their order or their contents according to any new priorities. This is the heart of the Agile principles. It gives the flexibility to adapt the plan and follow the best direction while you proceed with execution. Something much more difficult with a single and long execution phase. Great. That seems very useful indeed, as it broadens our knowledge of how a project can be best structured to deliver its goal. Our description of the Agile project was so far performed from a project management point of view. In the next lesson, we will analyze it from another perspective, putting the project product and scope at the center. See you there.